evening, everyone. Hope you are keeping it real tonight. And I thought I'd do something different. I thought I'd come to you from the front veranda. And tonight I am drinking Sauvignon Blanc 2021 from the Sidewood Winery in the Adelaide Hills. And I have had this wine before. But I don't know if I've had it on video. I do quite like it. It's a white. Anyway, without further ado, what am I going to talk about tonight is a movie. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Critical Drinker channel on YouTube. For the most part, he remorselessly takes the piss out of woke garbage, and that's what gets produced by Hollywood most of the time now. But every now and again, he recommends a movie. So recently, he recommended the new Top Gun movie, and I've seen it, and it's pretty good. So I thought I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to do me recommending a movie that I think is quite thought-provoking and ahead of its time in terms of ideas. And this movie is called Logan's Run, made in 1976. The basic premise for this movie is that this is the future. It's on Earth. They live in a domed city. Presumably there has been some sort of catastrophe outside, or so we're led to believe. They don't go into too much detail, but everyone lives inside this dome, and they live a life of luxury and happiness, and everyone, goes about their day just enjoying themselves essentially. And it's what you would probably call a utopia. And of course, like with all of these things, you think, it's too good to be true. And it is too good to be true. So not everyone has, I'm not really clear what jobs these people even do in this, living this life, just having a good time every day. With one exception, the main protagonist, Logan 5, played by Michael York, who you might be familiar from in Austin Powers. He is essentially a law enforcer. He's a sandman. And his job will become clear in a second. Then they got the other protagonist who plays opposite him, who was played by Jenny Agutter. And her name's Jessica. Anyway, you can have anything in this place, as I said, except one thing. There's a catch. You can't have your 30th birthday. So if you turn 29 right on your last day, that's when basically you have to report in, and you go on this thing called the carousel. They put a hood over your head so no one can actually recognize who you are. You get on it. Everyone comes in and watches, and it's a big event, and they're cheering because essentially they have this religious belief of sorts on reincarnation. Now they call it renewal. So this is the day where basically you're going to get renewed as a new version of yourself. Hence the term Logan 5. He's the 5th version of this character in his mind. He's been reincarnated that many times. And as I say, they all sit down, they watch, they cheer, they think it's fantastic, and the people go around in a circle, and they gradually go into the air, and one by one there's these big sparks, and they just disappear, and supposedly, as they believe, get renewed. The Sandman, it's their job to chase down anyone who doesn't acquiesce to this process. They turn it for last day, and they decide, no, I'm going to do a runner. I'm going to run for this. I'm not going on it. The Sandmen have to chase those down because you have to go through this renewal process. And that's what Logan does. He starts off and he's not intentionally a bad guy, but that's what he believes, that he's doing the right thing, he's doing his job. And it's kind of like a sport for him, chasing down runners. And at some stage through this, he, through a chance of fate, meets the Jessica character, and she doesn't straight away spell it all out, but she does imply that she believes that her friend got killed, not renewed, on the carousel. So they have this sort of start of this relationship where she is waking him up, you might say. But also through this, he's given an assignment to chase down where some of these runners might be going, because they're not all accounted for, they're disappearing. So they are disappearing to some sort of sanctuary, or so it's believed. And so he's meant to infiltrate this movement, this underground movement, and go out of the city to find out what's happening and essentially destroy it. It's a secret assignment. And to do it, he's got to become a runner. So this computer of sorts that runs the city, they're not entirely clear what this is. It's artificial intelligence. Ages his life clock, which is like a crystal on the hand, and he's then a runner and he has to run for his own life. In the process, with the help of Jessica, goes outside. Lots of things are found out on the way. One of them is that no one's actually getting out at all. They're all ending up as popsicles. They're getting frozen by this robot, but that's a minor plot deviation here. Essentially, they are able to get out into the big wide world, which is essentially a very overgrown Washington DC, many centuries in the future, and they come across a thing that they've never seen before, and that's somebody who is old. And by this stage, the dots are well and truly getting lined up, and Logan's realizing that what they're getting told in their city, in their life, is a load of bullshit. And you can live to a long age, you can find a partner and get married and live with them. You don't have to go along with this nonsense. So again, lots of other little things happen. He has a confrontation with his friend, also a law enforcer. He is comes out victorious, you might say, and then they go back to this dome city where he attempts to essentially wake people up again, and it is somewhat successful in overriding this artificial intelligence. And the end of the movie is essentially other people meeting this elderly gentleman played by Peter Ustinov, and they're joining the dots. So it's a very thought-provoking movie, and obviously the whole renewal process and religious belief associated with that is installed to basically control the population. And it just makes you think, doesn't it? It makes you think for a second. Even back in the 70s, certainly now, could anyone possibly be evil enough to, shall we say, trick people into believing some sort of thing is, I don't know, is good for them? In the case of this movie, it's good to get renewed and start your life afresh, only to basically be culling the population. Just gets you thinking, doesn't it? It gets you thinking. So I recommend the movie. It is not the only movie with this kind of idea, but it was probably one of the first that I saw. Back in '76, I probably saw it in the early '80s. So I recommend seeing Logan's Run. Apologies for the special effects up front. They actually did get some sort of award at the time, but right now they're very dated. But the characters are quite memorable, and the ideas are very before their time in many respects.